November 10th was productive, and our hopes remain high for the next few days, but we know that the rut has a lull when most of the does are in estrus and the bucks are not moving. That dead week usually falls from November 14th through the 20th, right around the corner. Knowing the best days are slipping by fast, we start to hunt with desperation, taking more risks and pushing farther into the best areas. Hunting in eastern Iowa, Mike Reed heads to one of his best morning stands, the secluded corner of a big cornfield right next to a bedding area.
Well, it's Saturday, November 11th, and Jared and I are all set up for the morning hunt. We're down at my farm. We're set up in the same stand that I hunted November 6th and had a good hunt. This morning, the conditions are a little bit different. We've got a southeast gusty wind ahead of this front that's coming through later on this evening. It's about 34 degrees actual temperature with a wind chill of about 25. And bucks tend to cruise out of all this bedding area here along the edge of this cornfield. That's basically the movement we saw the other day, and that's the movement that we're hunting. The main bucks that I've got right here are 66 and Stevo. That's the two main bucks. Both of them are 5.5. I've got 3 years of history with them, so we'll see if this gusty wind doesn't swirl too much and we can get a buck out in front of us.
"250 miles to the southeast, Andy Melton continues his efforts to find a southern Illinois buck. His morning hunt takes place over an isolated microplot surrounded by bedding cover, a classic rut hotspot.
It's Saturday, November the 11th. It's my favorite day of the year to hunt. And we've came into a set we haven't hunted yet this week. Got a big and beastie plot with some wheat mixed in. It's just a big, huge thicket we're sitting right in the middle of, big cut over timber. It's an awesome little spot. Got high hopes for the morning being my favorite day of the year. I'm really got my fingers crossed today. He's on that doe, he don't care.
I see her back in the thicket there.
You do see her?
Yep.
That's the Big Ten. Got pictures of him right here. That was close encounter of the 10-point kind this morning. That's one of the deer that we're after. We've got a lot of pictures of him right here in this very food plot. And with that doe just going right back straight in behind it and bedding down, there's a really good chance they could come and hit this wheat and turnips right here earlier in the evening before heading out to those beans. It's right in the middle of a big thick bedding area right here. So it's an awesome place for them just to come in and eat, and slip out all day long pretty much. We'll see how it goes. Where? No, I see him right now. Right behind that oak tree.
Yeah.
It's a pretty decent buck.
I was looking at it.
That's him, that's a 10. Yeah. No, that's not him. Do it. That's a good young buck. Real good young 10-pointer. Small neck. Right. We did it, baby. We did it.
Stay down, baby. Stay down, baby.
Big boy, November 11th again, baby. Big boy down, November the 11th.
Right tree, baby.
Right tree. We did it. Oh, I can't believe it. I cannot believe it. November the 11th is it is it, baby. It is it. November the 11th.
I can't believe it just happened.
I can't either, man. We were sitting here. This doe came through right here at 70 yards an hour ago. Me and David have been talking this whole time about how we hope she just stayed in this thicket. We hope she stayed here. And she did, by golly, and she brought that big sucker right back by us again. Oh my gosh, I cannot believe it. We finally calmed down here. We were pretty excited. It's been a long week for us. David had a chance at a good buck earlier in the week, and we just been kind of down and out a little bit after that, and deer movement's not been the best, but you know, it just takes 30 seconds, you know, literally 30 seconds. That right there happened so fast. I mean, looked up, she was coming, we got up. I mean, didn't even really get much footage of him coming in, but that's okay, because that just shows the real true life hunting right there, how fast it can happen in the rut. But that's enough talking. We've gave him about 10-15 minutes there after I shot. I'm ready to get down and get my hands on him. I hope he didn't get down in that slough.
I hope you have to go swimming.
There he lays right there. Put on it. Yes. Gosh. All right, well, you know, here we are. We've had pictures of this deer ever since the summer, and knew he was running around in here. Just had to have the right wind to get in on this stand, and we did. This big dude decided to walk by. He was chasing a doe, and she came through earlier in the morning, and he was behind her. And we were sitting there just kind of not paying any attention, and looked up, here she came, and sure enough, he was right behind her. Run by at 15 yards, gave us a perfect shot. He didn't make it, about 75 yards. But all in all, just an awesome morning, just a typical rut hunt in southern Illinois, you know, bucks hot on the does. And I just can't be more excited and more tickled right now. He's a pig. What's up, buddy? How about that, huh? Huh? How about that? What's that, Brady? Huh? Stitch? Old Stitch.
Hunting near a small microplot is the best way to find yourself at full draw on a mature buck during the rut. In this case, Andy's planning paid off when he harvested his top buck over a big and beastie plot that he planted deep in the timber near a bedding area. Whether in his home state of Tennessee or at the family farm in Illinois, Andy counts on the versatility of Realtree camo patterns for effective visual concealment throughout the season. Keeping things simple and minimizing gear is always a worthwhile goal. Nikon's LaserForce range-finding binoculars bring together the two pieces of optical hardware that most bow hunters carry to the stand. Working hard to contain cost, Nikon is able to offer the LaserForce at roughly the same price you would pay if you bought a rangefinder and a high-quality binocular separately. Sleepless nights spent waiting for daylight only to follow a weak blood trail are a thing of the past with the devastating performance of the new Wasp jackhammer broadhead. With its 1 3/4 inch cutting diameter, this head is the perfect combination of destruction and penetration. Back in eastern Iowa, Mike Reed and Jared Mills continue to watch the back corner of the field, hoping to sight one of the two mature bucks that live there.
It's about 9 o'clock now, and it's been a terribly slow hunt. We had one 1.5-year-old buck come by about an hour ago or so. So Jared and I both have a lot of stuff to get done. I need to get that buck from yesterday to the locker. And I'm going to pull a few cards out here and just try to get prepared here for these next few days. Hopefully the activity is going to pick up here pretty soon. Also, I'd just like to say Happy Veterans Day to all those serving, past, present, and future. We really appreciate your service.
350 miles to the east, in Indiana, Clayton Dillard is also hunting the morning of Veterans Day. But unlike Mike Reed, Clayton is fortunate to have a hot doe come past his stand, stirring up all the local bucks.
Today is November 11th, Veterans Day, and we're hunting down here at the creek again this morning. It's a little after daylight, and we didn't get to do a morning interview because we had a couple of deer underneath us, so we didn't want to talk and spook them. But so far this morning, we've seen 2 little button bucks and a doe, and about 7 turkeys. So the wind, it's a chilly morning this morning, so we're hoping that one of the does that has been through here is hot and a buck will come cruising looking for her. So we're gonna keep our eyes open in the woods this morning. It's pretty calm, and hopefully we'll have a deer come by us. So good morning, November 11th. That's an old deer. Big 8, Clayton. Oh yeah, big 8. I don't really have no clear shots down there. Kill him. Ah. He stopped right there. Go down. Go down, baby. Well, I just shot the big 8-pointer. We've been hunting. He kind of turned away and I kind of hit him in the neck, so he definitely acted hurt when he was running away. It was a 37-yard shot, and he ran and kind of had his tail tucked, so you know, there's some main vessels up there in the neck, so I'm hoping I caught one of them, but he's definitely a big deer, so hopefully we'll have a little bit of lady luck on our side and we'll find him here in a little bit. We're going to give him definitely some time, so hopefully a big deer on the ground here in a bit. So we're tracking my deer, and we have really good blood, blood with bubbles in it, so that's kind of exciting. This is good to see, so we're going to keep on the trail, see if we can find him. I found him. He's out in the creek. You gotta be kidding me. Well, we just found my deer, and unfortunately, the good thing is he's dead, but the bad thing is he's out in the middle of the creek, and the creek's pretty deep, so we got a deer on the ground, so that's a bonus. So we're gonna try to figure out how to get to him. So this is the deer we thought he was. He was the #1 hit list buck for me, and we had an encounter with him on November 7th across the creek. He was dogging a doe over there, and we got some footage of him, but we just couldn't get him to commit and come across the creek. But this morning he came in trailing a spike and a doe, and we ended up having to fish him out of the creek. So that's been a process. We've been messing with that for a couple hours now. But you know, Tyler and Tim, I can't thank them enough for helping me get him out of the creek, and this is definitely a deer I'm happy to put my tag on, and thanks everybody for watching.
Choosing the correct shooting lane is just as important as deciding where to aim. The flat trajectory of the 5mm Easton Full Metal Jacket arrow allows us to shoot through small openings that we might not otherwise consider. Clayton is shooting a Hoyt carbon bow. While such state-of-the-art materials aren't required to kill a deer, they are really fun to shoot. From a practical standpoint, Hoyt's carbon bows are warmer in the hand, easier to carry, and reduce vibration during the shot. Cabela's offers a wide range of footwear that accommodate all types of hunting, from early season spot and stalk to late season stand hunting. What you wear on your feet has almost as much to do with your success as what you carry in your hands. With an industry-leading lifetime warranty, our choice in footwear is simple: Cabela's. Low light accuracy requires a sight with bright pins. Fuse sights have some of the brightest pins on the market, making it possible to take shots right up to the end of legal shooting time with total confidence. Veterans Day was magical for two of our team. Andy Melton shot his second straight Illinois trophy on November 11th, and Clayton Dillard took his #1 buck in Indiana. But as excited as those two hunters are, my last 2 days have been slow. It is time for me to hit the reset button and look at some new country. I'm not going to admit defeat on hunting this lone oak buck, but I'm going to pull off him for a little while. I need a little break from hunting the deer in those same spots over and over, and I'm sure that those spots need a break too. There was a buck here in late September that we called the Chocolate 9. We kind of just tentatively nicknamed him that. He had brown antlers, really cool looking deer. He could be in the area still. We've gotten pictures of him not too far from here since then. So that would be a fun one to see tonight. And then you never know during the rut what can move into these types of areas. So any solid mature buck is going to do now. There's a part of me that wants to see that lone oak buck make it another year. There's so few really good mature bucks on the farm now that I'm afraid if I get him, which doesn't look that good in itself, but if I do get him, then that's going to reduce by 1 the number of potential targets I would have for next year. And there's got to be, and I know there are, some more management type mature bucks on this part of the farm. So we're going to spend a little time, spend a little bit of time over here over the next few days, and kind of bounce back and forth between this area and then the area where that lone oak buck is living. Pretty good looking buck. Well, decent anyway. We hadn't been in here for about 3 or 4 weeks, and that definitely showed. The deer were all over the place, especially at first. And we got in here fairly early, but there were does already in the plot. And then once we got into the stand, they were in the brush nearby feeding and moving through. So I'm sure we're real close to where they bed for that many deer to be on their feet that early. Then, about 45 minutes ago or so, a hot doe came through with a nice 3-year-old buck behind her. And it was funny to watch a 2-year-old come in after them and try to figure out exactly where they went. He couldn't decipher their scent trail, and he ended up getting frustrated and going back in the direction that he came from. But he circled around in the food plot here probably 5 times trying to figure out exactly where that doe went. He was late to the party and he knew it. If we'd have been here, or if we'd have seen something like that a week to 10 days ago, there probably would have been 5 bucks following that doe. But there's so many does that are in estrus now that you just don't have that many bucks that are chasing after every single one that's hot. It was encouraging to see, though, because that 3-year-old that was following her could just as well have been a 5-year-old, and we'd have been at least making a try at him. So there's hope even during this middle lull stage of the rut. In 28 years of hunting nearly every day of November, I can remember only one recent hunt where I killed a mature buck during the middle of the month. It was 2008. He was moving fast, obviously between does, and was someplace on his mind. I was very fortunate to be in the right place that evening. Pretty exciting stuff. Wow. I never expected this spot to work. We're right by a road. See? This is where they come out. Crazy stuff happens with these big deer. Man, that's awesome. Look at this buck. Man, that thing's awesome. Well, it's the 16th of November. A little bit warmer today than it's been, but this guy was out cruising early. He came by at about 20 minutes after 3, so he's on the move. They're still rutting, folks. That's awesome. Positioning of the Ozonics unit is important to its effectiveness. With this in mind, Ozonics makes several different mounting systems that you can use to attach the unit to the tree or the ground blind in the perfect position to rain ozone down on your scent stream. Staying comfortable and hydrated through long, sweaty days requires a class-leading cooler, one that can take the abuse of life in a pickup bed and still hold ice for days. That is why American-made Grizzly coolers go with us on every scouting trip. No one really thinks about mobility in their ground blind until it is too late. Having a good seat that allows you to pivot quickly and quietly to cover any window in the blind is a definite asset. That's why we use the REDNECK blind chair in all of our ground blind hunting. One of the biggest challenges we face when planting food plots is getting larger seeds, like soybeans, in the ground at the proper depth. Doing this requires a drill or planter. You can't just throw them out in hope. This is one of the strengths of the RTP Genesis seeder. It plants large seeds at the perfect depth for consistent germination and a solid stand.
I'm struggling.
Everyone is struggling to find bucks on their feet as we close in on the rut's lull. The peak of the breeding phase can produce some of the slowest hunting of the entire month. But fortunately, not all of our hunters are stuck in the quicksand of the rut's lull. If you do find a buck that is between does, he can be very killable. That is the situation in which John Hendrickson finds himself while hunting Wisconsin on the morning of November 12th.
creek?
He's in the creek. There he is. We got some work to do now. Snuck into the stand and hit the grunt call a few times, and he came trotting right in and shot him about 5 feet from the tree. So couldn't have happened any better.
A buck will lose 20% of his body weight during the rut, but if you hunt him every day, you are likely to do the same thing. Missed meals and missed sleep take a toll, and when the rut's lull hits, it is very tempting to wave the white flag. Some years are like that. Success doesn't always come quickly. Some years you never fill your tag, never see the buck you are hunting, and yet you still can't wait to do it all again. We know we can't give up now. Keep forging ahead, 1 foot in front of the other, 1 day at a time. All it takes is 1 buck, and that deer can show up at any time. So despite the recent slow days, we are not quitting. We stay committed to the goal. Despite the letdowns, we keep chasing November.